That we have a financial crisis in
Our world today faces countless challenges.
Waves buffeted the Atlantic coast.
When we look at these problems separately, we're not taking into account the highly connected nature of our world. And yet, if we try and get an overall picture of all the interconnections, we're overwhelmed by the enormous complexity of data and information presented.
Decision-making is a key ingredient of freedom, and people taking control of their lives is known to be a major factor for happiness and satisfaction. Most of these decisions are taken in a very human way. I mean, you just kind of juggle with the ingredients in your mind until a decision forms.
In the moment, decision-making in policy and business is a little bit like putting a stick into the fork.
This is where FuturICT comes into play.
FuturICT is a project run by scientists or proposed by scientists to do large-scale simulations of social systems. We're in a situation at the moment where some of the data that we release, we have no idea where it goes or who has access to that data or where it's sold on to. In the FuturICT project, we want to try and do everything in an open and above-board manner.
Our world has changed fundamentally because rather than having a loosely coupled systems as we had it in the past, we are now confronted with strongly coupled systems. Those systems behave in a completely different way. The dynamics is usually much faster. There can be extreme events of any size. Systems are much less manageable, predictable, controllable. And all this implies certain systemic risks. That means cascading failures can happen in those systems.
So how does FuturICT plan to achieve these goals? To accelerate innovation and knowledge, information and data passes through different stages. Firstly, interconnected observatories located in different places in the world collect data about social, natural, economic and technological elements of our world.
Some of the observations are more complicated, and those are the interesting ones. Those are complex and rare events that we try to observe and try to detect.
A huge amount of data collected on a global scale will be processed in real time. Aggregated information will be stored in supercomputer centers. Secondly, different models developed by scientists from a wide range of research will allow us to simulate important features of our real world.
On the small scale, there would be a detailed agent-based model. On a larger scale, there would be a, say, network-based model, and so on. So there would be, I think, several different models connected on different layers together.
Modelling doesn't mean controlling or predicting perfectly. It means trying to understand how they behave. And what's clear, for example, from the recent financial crisis is that people do behave irrationally, but it certainly is possible to get a description, certainly of the system as a whole. That's what we're interested in. More realistic descriptions of how people, if you like, behave irrationally, but it is certainly feasible. It doesn't mean that we can control and predict what they do.
These models will be merged in the Living Earth simulator. Bringing scientists from different fields together will accelerate the process of uncovering and developing this urgently required knowledge. Thirdly, these simulations of possible futures will be made accessible to the public, the stakeholders and decision makers.
We have the strong belief that FuturICT should be an open platform and not in the hands of some governments or some occult organizations, so that everybody has access to the result of the research. But at the same time, we have to make sure that privacy of all the participants and those who contribute in some of the assessments and research are being protected at the same time.
The project will be highly ICT intensive, drawing on existing tools and driving new developments.
ICTs can help victims and affected communities already today through better utilization of mobile telephony in zones of war, where victims can, for instance, communicate with relief operations or peacekeeping forces to alert them or inform them about violations of war that might happen today.
The Living Earth simulator will give people the possibility to access massive data and massive modeling about social dynamics, about what's going on in the future in social dynamics for cities, for countryside, for the environment, for transportations and so on. And they will access that from different means, from their, of course, computer on the internet. There will be specific places with specific means to access the visualization of the simulation.
Imagine that anybody could access, understand and utilize our collective knowledge of science and technology. Anyone could either go to a physical space, which has also been compared to a flight simulator or a policy wind tunnel, or a virtual online place to get in contact with leading experts, relevant papers, data sets or tools. Anybody could then explore complex techno, social, economic or environmental systems to inform his or her own decision making.
Data and information are the gold mines of our futures. We want to use them well, protecting individuals' privacy, but also making information of public interest accessible to all. By bringing the knowledge of our best scientists together, the project will support you in making decisions now and in the future. FuturICT, a project we cannot afford to not support.